Imagine this. You're on a crowded subway, lost in your thoughts, when suddenly, you see something that makes your blood run cold. A man grabs a young girl, his grip tight, his eyes darting around like a predator scanning for escape. No one else seems to notice. The train rattles on, passengers glued to their phones, completely unaware of the horror unfolding right beside them. But there's one person watching. One person who isn't just any bystander, an off-duty Marine trained to act when others freeze. What happens next will leave you on the edge of your seat, questioning every stranger you've ever walked past. If you've ever wondered what you'd do in a situation like this, whether you'd be the hero or just another face in the crowd, then you're in the right place. Because today, we're diving deep into a story that's equal parts terrifying and inspiring. A story about split-second decisions, hidden bravery, and the shocking moment when evil meets justice. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll get answers to the questions burning in your mind. Asterisk, who is this man? Why did he target her? And what did the Marine do when he realized what was happening? Let's set the scene. It's rush hour in New York City. The subway is packed, the air thick with the hum of tired commuters. Among them is Emily, a college student just trying to get home. Then there's him, the man no one pays attention to, the kind of person who blends into the background until it's too late. And then there's Jake, the Marine, the wild card, the one man who sees what no one else does. I won't spoil what happens next, but I will tell you this. What unfolds is something you have to see to believe. Because when danger strikes in broad daylight, when evil thinks it's gotten away with the unthinkable, that's when the real story begins. So don't click away. Don't scroll past. Because what you're about to witness will change the way you see the world around you. And trust me, you need to see how this ends. End on a cliffhanger, cut to black with suspenseful music, teasing the next part of the story. Real-life hero, subway crime, off-duty Marine saves girl, viral justice, caught on camera, bravery story, crime intervention, shocking subway moment, hidden camera footage, Marine stops kidnapping. This intro hooks fast, builds tension, and makes a direct connection with the viewer by putting them in the scene. It teases just enough to make them need to keep watching while staying compliant with YouTube policies. Let me know if you'd like any refinements. Asterisk, deepening the mystery. Unraveling the subway incident. Emily hadn't planned on taking the subway that night. She usually carpooled with her roommate, but after their latest argument, something trivial about rent, or maybe it was the unwashed dishes, she needed space. The kind of space only a long, anonymous train ride could provide. The kind where no one asks questions, where you can disappear into the hum of a city. But disappearing was the last thing she should have wanted. Because someone was watching. Not just the Marine, Jake, who sat 3 seats away, his sharp eyes missing nothing, but him. The man in the gray hoodie, the one who had been on the same platform as her, who had boarded the train just seconds after she did. A coincidence? Maybe. But then why did his fingers twitch every time the train lurched, like he was resisting the urge to reach out? Jake hadn't intended to be there either. He'd just finished a late shift at the gym where he worked as a trainer, his muscles still humming with exhaustion. 6 years out of the Corps, and he still carried himself like he was on patrol, shoulders squared, gaze scanning, always assessing. It was habit, not paranoia. At least, that's what he told himself. But when he noticed the girl, Emily, though he didn't know her name yet, something in his gut tightened. It wasn't just the way the man in the hoodie kept inching closer. It was the way she kept glancing at her phone, her fingers trembling as she swiped away notifications. Like she was waiting for a message that never came. Or like she was afraid of one that might. And then there was the third player in this unfolding drama, someone no one had noticed yet. A woman in a black peacoat, her face half hidden behind oversized sunglasses, even though it was nearly midnight. She'd been on the platform too, standing a little too still, her phone angled just slightly in Emily's direction. Was she filming? Watching? Or was she part of something darker? The subway cameras would have caught her, but in a city this size, footage like that often got lost in the noise. Unless someone knew where to look. Unless someone wanted it found. The train screeched to a halt at 34th Street, and for a heartbeat, everything froze. The man in the hoodie lurched forward, his hand brushing Emily's wrist. Just for a second. Just long enough to make her flinch. Jake was on his feet before he'd even processed the movement, his body moving on instinct. But then the doors slid open. A wave of passengers flooded in, breaking the tension like a dam giving way. The man melted into the crowd. The woman in the peacoat was gone. And Emily? She exhaled, her shoulders slumping in relief. False alarm. Just another weird moment in a city full of them. Except Jake knew better. Because as the train pulled away, he saw it, the faint red mark on Emily's wrist. Like she'd been grabbed before. Like this wasn't the first time. And that's when he made his decision. He wouldn't let her out of his sight. Not until he knew exactly what was going on. Subway mystery, real-life crime story, Marine saves woman, subway surveillance footage, hidden danger in public, stranger danger, crime documentary, unsolved subway cases, viral rescue moment, true urban horror stories. This section layers in new questions. Who is the woman in the peacoat? Why does Emily have a mark on her wrist? While keeping the core conflict unresolved. The pacing stays tight, dropping just enough clues to make the audience second-guess who the real threat is. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments to the tone or suspense level. The plot thickens. A web of secrets on the subway. As Jake kept his distance but his eyes locked on Emily, he noticed something strange. Her phone screen lit up again, this time with a series of rapid-fire notifications. Her breath hitched as she read them, her fingers clutching the device like it might vanish if she loosened her grip. Across the car, the man in the gray hoodie had repositioned himself near the doors, but his gaze kept flickering back toward her, his lips moving slightly as if rehearsing words he hadn't yet spoken. Jake's instincts screamed that this wasn't just some random creep, this was calculated. But before he could act, Emily suddenly stood, her face pale, and bolted for the next car as the train swayed violently around a bend. Meanwhile, 3 stops back, Emily's roommate, Leah, was pacing her apartment, her own phone buzzing with an unknown number. The message was short, cryptic. You shouldn't have left her alone. Leah's stomach dropped. She and Emily had fought, sure, but this wasn't some petty revenge. This felt like a threat. Had someone been watching them? She scrolled frantically through her call log, realizing with a jolt that Emily hadn't answered any of her texts in over an hour. Not since before she'd gotten on the train. Leah's mind raced to last week, when Emily had mentioned feeling followed near campus, laughing it off as paranoia. But what if it wasn't? Back on the subway, Jake followed Emily into the next car, his pulse steady but his mind running scenarios. Was she running from the man in the hoodie, or toward something else? Then, as if the universe wanted to crank the tension higher, the lights flickered. Just for a second. Just long enough for Jake to miss the moment Emily slipped into the crowd. When the fluorescence buzzed back to life, she was gone. But the man in the hoodie wasn't. He was still there, his head tilted, listening to something through an earpiece Jake hadn't noticed before. A partner? A handler? The pieces weren't fitting, and that terrified him more than any direct confrontation. And then the twist no one saw coming. As the train slowed into the next station, a security camera feed from earlier that night surfaced on a transit worker's monitor. It showed Emily, yes, but also the woman in the peacoat, talking to the man in the hoodie before boarding. Familiar. Comfortable. Like this wasn't their first conversation. But if they knew each other, why had the woman been filming Emily? Why had the man pretended to be a stranger? The answer was somewhere in the shadows of that subway car, and Jake was the only one close enough to find it. But time was running out, because the next stop was the last on the line. And if Emily didn't get off there, neither would the people hunting her. Subway crime mystery, real-life stalker story, marine hero intervention, shocking surveillance footage, hidden conspiracy, urban survival story, true crime documentary, subway kidnapping plot, unsolved transit crimes, viral mystery solved. This segment escalates the tension by introducing Leah's perspective and the eerie message, making it clear the threat extends beyond Emily. The security footage twist forces the audience to question everything they thought they knew, while Jake's pursuit keeps the immediacy razor-sharp. The cliffhanger, last stop equals no escape, ensures viewers have to keep watching. Need any refinements to the pacing or suspense? Asterisk, asterisk, the truth unravels, a shocking betrayal beneath the city. Just as the train screeched into the final station, Jake caught a glimpse of Emily's sleeve snagging on the closing doors of the next car. She hadn't gotten off. She was still on board, and so was the man in the hoodie, now moving with a chilling sense of purpose. Jake shoved through the crowd, his Marine training overriding the chaos around him, but then his phone buzzed. A single photo, sent from an unknown number. Emily, laughing with the woman in the peacoat from earlier, their arms linked like old friends. The timestamp? 2 days ago. His blood ran cold. None of this made sense. Had Emily been in on it the whole time? Was she the one playing a game? But then, just as doubt began to poison his instincts, the pieces snapped together in the worst possible way. The man in the hoodie wasn't stalking Emily, he was protecting her. And the woman in the peacoat? She wasn't just filming. She was hunting. The red mark on Emily's wrist wasn't from a stranger's grip. It matched the distinctive pattern of zip-tie restraints, the kind used in abductions. Jake had seen it before, back in Fallujah. This wasn't a random subway creep. This was an extraction. Someone was trying to take Emily, and the man in the hoodie was the only thing standing between her and whatever dark fate waited beyond those doors. And then, the final twist. Emily's panicked text hadn't been to a friend. They'd been to Leah, not her roommate, but her sister. The same sister who'd been reported missing 6 months ago after testifying against a human trafficking ring. The same sister who was supposed to be dead. The messages flooding Emily's phone weren't threats. They were warnings. Because Leah wasn't just alive. She was here, somewhere on this train, and the people who'd taken her were closing in. The woman in the peacoat wasn't a bystander. She was the one who'd pulled Leah off the streets all those months ago. And now, she was back to finish what she'd started, with Emily caught in the crossfire. The train doors hissed open at the terminal, and the crowd surged forward, a blur of oblivious commuters. Jake had seconds to decide, trust the man he'd pegged as a predator, or walk away and let 2 sisters vanish into the underbelly of the city forever. But before he could move, a hand clamped onto his arm. Asterisk Emily Starr. Her eyes were wide, desperate, her voice a whisper beneath the station's echoing announcements. Asterisk, you have to help me. She's here. And if they take us again, we won't come back. Subway kidnapping twist, human trafficking survival, Marine hero true story, shocking family secret, undercover rescue mission, viral crime footage, sister disappearance mystery, urban survival horror, real-life hero intervention, hidden camera evidence. This twist reframes the entire story. The villain might be an ally, the victim might be the key, and the real threat has been hiding in plain sight. The emotional gut punch of the sister reveal raises the stakes exponentially while keeping the action relentless. Need any adjustments to maximize the shock factor? Asterisk, asterisk, the impossible choice. Sacrifice or survival on the subway. Jake's grip tightened around Emily's wrist as the crowd jostled them toward the platform, his mind racing faster than his pounding heart. The man in the hoodie had vanished into the sea of commuters, but the woman in the peacoat was still there, her sunglasses now discarded, her cold gaze locked onto Emily with the precision of a sniper. Every instinct pulled Jake to run, to drag Emily out of there and never look back, but her whispered confession still echoed in his ears. She's here. Leah, the sister everyone believed was dead, was somewhere in this station. And if they left now, she'd be gone forever. But staying meant walking straight into a trap. The woman's hand slipped into her coat pocket, and the glint of metal beneath the fluorescent lights made Jake's blood turn to ice. This wasn't just a kidnapping, it was an execution. Emily's nails dug into Jake's arm as she choked back a sob. They made me lie, she gasped. Asterisk, they said they'd kill her if I told anyone she was alive. The messages, the fake stalker stories, it was all just to keep me scared. To keep me quiet. Asterisk, the weight of her words hit Jake like a sledgehammer. The man in the hoodie wasn't just a bodyguard. He was Leah's last hope, an undercover cop who'd infiltrated the trafficking ring to save her. And now, because Jake had misread everything, he'd blown the operation wide open. The woman in the peacoat wasn't just a hunter, she was the ringleader, and she knew she'd been made. The gun in her pocket wasn't for Leah or Emily. It was for him. A sharp whistle cut through the station, a signal. From the shadows of a maintenance stairwell, a figure emerged. Leah, her face gaunt, her wrists raw with scars that mirrored Emily's. But the relief Jake expected to feel shattered the second he saw the man behind her, pressing a knife to her ribs. The hoodie was gone, replaced by a transit worker's uniform. He'd been playing both sides the whole time. "You get one," the woman called out, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. Asterisk the sister who lied, or the sister who suffered. Choose fast, hero. Asterisk the ultimatum hung in the air like a guillotine's blade. Save Emily, the girl who'd dragged him into this mess with her secrets. Or Leah, the innocent who'd endured hell to protect her. There was no right answer. No way out. Only the terrible truth that in the next 30 seconds, someone was going to die. And then, the gun fired. Impossible choices, true story, human trafficking survival, undercover cop exposed, sister sacrifice, viral subway standoff, real-life hero versus villain, kidnapping plot twist, emotional survival story, crime documentary, Marine's toughest decision. This segment forces Jake into a morally devastating choice while revealing layers of betrayal and deception. The tension is relentless, the stakes unbearably personal, and the cliffhanger ensures viewers have to know who is shot. The emotional weight, sister versus sister, Jake's guilt over misjudging the situation, makes the conflict visceral. Want to amplify any particular element for maximum impact? Asterisk the conspiracy unmasked, a web of betrayal on the tracks. The gunshots' echo hadn't even faded before the station erupted into chaos, screams, scrambling footsteps, the shrill blast of a transit cop's whistle. But Jake didn't hear any of it. All he saw was the blood spreading across Emily's shoulder, the way her knees buckled as she clutched the wound, her eyes wide with something worse than pain. Realization. The bullet hadn't come from the woman in the peacoat. It had come from behind them. Whipping around, Jake's stomach dropped as he recognized the face half hidden in the shadow of a support beam, Leah's boyfriend, Mark, the guy who'd organized candlelight vigils for her disappearance, who'd sobbed on the local news begging for answers. His gun was still raised, smoke curling from the barrel. Asterisk, he wasn't saving Leah. He was silencing her. The truth hit Jake like a freight train. This wasn't just a kidnapping. It was a business. Mark wasn't some grieving boyfriend. He was the middleman, the one who'd groomed vulnerable girls like Leah with fake affection before handing them off to the trafficking ring. The woman in the peacoat? Just one of his distributors. And the undercover cop in the hoodie, real name Daniel Reyes, hadn't just been protecting Emily. He'd been using her as bait to draw out the entire operation. But now, with Reyes down, a knife wound glistening at his ribs from the transit worker's ambush, and Mark's gun swinging toward Leah, the horrifying scale of the conspiracy snapped into focus. There were more of them. Dozens. Lurking in the crowd, pretending to be panicked bystanders. Jake spotted the flicker of hand signals between them, the way they herded fleeing commuters away from the exits. They weren't just trying to escape. They were containing the witnesses. Emily's voice cut through the noise, raw with agony and fury. Asterisk, you knew? Asterisk, she screamed at Mark, her bloodied hand pointing at Leah. Asterisk, you did this to her? To us. Asterisk, Mark's answering smile made Jake's vision go red. No remorse. Just calculation. Because Leah wasn't just a victim. She was evidence. The scars on her wrists weren't just from restraints. They were from surgery. Tiny, precise cuts where tracking chips had been removed. Chips that could have led the police to hidden warehouses, to shipping routes, to other girls. And now, with one more bullet, Mark could erase it all. Jake's hand closed around the fire extinguisher beside him, his muscles coiling. He was outnumbered, outgunned, and bleeding from where a blade had grazed his side in the scuffle. But as Mark's finger tightened on the trigger, Jake saw Leah mouth two words, not help me, but but asterisk the tracks. Asterisk a split-second glance down revealed the glint of a subway grate slightly ajar. An escape route? A trap? It didn't matter. Because in that heartbeat, Jake made his choice. He hurled the extinguisher at Mark's head, grabbed both sisters by their collars, and jumped, just as the gun fired again. This segment cranks the stakes to unbearable levels, revealing the trafficking ring's chilling organization, Mark's true role, and Leah's surgical scars as evidence of something far more sinister. The action is relentless, fire extinguisher as a weapon, the leap onto the tracks, but the emotional core, Emily's betrayal, Leah's silent plea, keeps it human. The cliffhanger, mid-fall with another gunshot, demands viewers stay for the finale. Need any tweaks to heighten the urgency? Asterisk, asterisk, the final reckoning. Blood, lies, and the last train out. The world became a blur of screeching metal and flying sparks as Jake, Emily, and Leah hit the tracks, rolling desperately to avoid the third rail's lethal current. Above them, Mark's enraged scream was drowned out by the deafening horn of an approaching train, the last express of the night, barreling toward the station with no intention of stopping. Jake's body screamed in protest as he hauled the sisters into a narrow maintenance alcove, but there was no time to breathe. The great Leah had pointed to was just ahead, its hinges rusted but still loose enough to pry open. Beyond it? Not freedom, not safety, but a horror none of them could have imagined. The tunnel was lined with cages. Small, makeshift prisons constructed from chain link and padlocks, each barely large enough to hold a person curled into a ball. The stench of sweat and urine hit them like a physical blow, but worse were the whimpers, the weak, broken sounds coming from the shadows. 3 girls, maybe younger than Leah, their faces gaunt under the flickering emergency lights. This wasn't just a transit point. It was a holding facility, hidden in plain sight beneath one of the busiest stations in the city. And now, with the operation exposed, Mark and his crew weren't just trying to escape. They were erasing the evidence. Leah didn't hesitate. She lunged for the nearest cage, her fingers scrambling at the lock. They moved them at 3 a.m. when the train stopped, she gasped, her voice hollow with the weight of unspeakable knowledge. Asterisk, there's a van that pulls up to the service entrance. If we don't get them out now, asterisk, a gunshot ricocheted off the tunnel wall behind them. Mark and 2 of his men had climbed down, their flashlights cutting through the darkness like blades. Jake shoved Emily toward the cages, his voice a command. Asterisk, get them loose. Now. Asterisk, he turned to face the approaching lights, his hands empty, his body aching. He had no weapon, no backup. But he had one advantage. Marines didn't fight fair. The confrontation was brutal. Jake used the tunnel's uneven terrain to his advantage, kicking loose a section of pipe to parry the first attacker's knife strike before driving his elbow into the man's throat. The second gunman fired wildly, the bullet sparking off the tracks as Jake tackled him into the third rail's protective barrier. But Mark was smarter. He didn't rush in. He circled, his gun trained on Leah as she frantically worked the locks. Asterisk, you think you're saving them? Asterisk, he sneered. Asterisk, their product. And business is boom, ing. Asterisk, his finger tightened on the trigger, just as the express train thundered overhead, its wheels shaking the tunnel with enough force to dislodge a rusted steel beam from the ceiling. The crash was deafening. The beam struck Mark square in the back, pinning him to the tracks as the last cage door swung open. But the real twist came not from the tunnel, nor the gun, nor even the train. It came from Emily. As the dust settled, she stepped forward, Mark's fallen pistol in her shaking hands. And for the first time, Jake saw the truth in her eyes, the same truth Leah had carried for months. You took my sister, Emily whispered. Asterisk, but you forgot something. She raised the gun, not at Mark, but at the tunnel's security camera. Asterisk, you forgot they watch you too. Asterisk, the shot shattered the lens in a burst of glass and sparks. A silent alarm. A beacon. Because Emily hadn't just been bait. She'd been recording everything. Sirens wailed in the distance. The cavalry was coming. But as the first SWAT boots hit the platform above, Jake's gaze locked onto the one thing no one else had noticed, the fresh tattoo peeking out from under Leah's collar. A barcode. And beneath it a number. Asterisk, not just evidence. A ledger. Asterisk, this wasn't over. Keywords for SEO, asterisk, asterisk, subway tunnel horror. Human trafficking exposed. Marine's last stand. Undercover cop rescue. Sister revenge twist. Hidden cages viral. Barcode tattoo mystery. SWAT standoff footage. Real-life hero ending. Crime documentary finale. This climax delivers relentless action. The tunnel fight, the cages, the steel beam. But the real punch comes from Emily's reveal. She's been documenting everything, and Leah's barcode hints at a larger network. The SWAT arrival feels like victory, but that tattoo ensures the audience knows the story isn't truly over. Want to amplify any element for maximum chills? Asterisk, asterisk, the aftermath. Shadows and redemption in the dawn light. The sirens reached a fever pitch as SWAT officers flooded the tunnel, their shouts blending with the cries of the freed girls and the groans of the wounded traffickers. Jake stood amidst the chaos, his body trembling with exhaustion, his hands stained with blood that wasn't his own. Mark lay motionless under the steel beam, his eyes wide with shock even in death, as if he couldn't believe his empire had crumbled in a single night. The police swarmed around Leah and Emily, wrapping them in emergency blankets, their voices gentle but urgent with questions. But Jake's attention was fixed on the barcode tattoo just visible beneath Leah's collar, a stark, inked brand that spoke of a system far larger than one man, one tunnel, one city. The officers didn't notice it yet, or maybe they chose not to. Weeks later, the news would call it a victory. The bust would make headlines, the mayor would give a press conference, and the public would move on. But Jake knew better. He sat in a dimly lit diner across from Daniel Reyes, the undercover cop who'd survived his wounds, both of them staring at a case file that had no official police stamp. Inside were photos of other girls, other barcodes, other tunnels in cities across the country. Leah's number wasn't just an identifier, it was a key to a network that stretched far beyond what the authorities had uncovered. Reyes slid a burner phone across the table, his voice low. Asterisk, they're still out there. And now they know we're looking. Asterisk, Jake didn't hesitate. He pocketed the phone. Some battles didn't end with medals. They ended with a promise. Emily and Leah disappeared into witness protection, their faces blurred in the few photos that leaked to the press. But before they left, Emily pressed a flash drive into Jake's hand, her eyes haunted but resolute. You'll know when to use it, she'd whispered. He didn't open it. Not yet. Some truths were too heavy to carry alone. The final scene unfolds on a subway platform at dawn, the first train of the day pulling in with a sigh of brakes. Jake stands at the edge, his reflection fractured in the windows as passengers board, oblivious to the darkness that had thrived beneath their feet. In his pocket, the burner phone buzzes with a single, unsaved number. A coordinates pin. A name. He steps onto the train, the doors closing behind him. The screen cuts to black, but not before the audience catches one last detail. On the seat beside him, a newspaper headline blares. Asterisk, authorities deny existence of trafficking rings. Asterisk, and beneath it, half hidden by his sleeve, the edge of a barcode tattoo. Not Leah's. Asterisk, his. Trafficking ring exposed. Witness protection story. Undercover cop aftermath. Viral crime resolution. Hidden network documentary. Marine's secret mission. Barcode tattoo meaning. Unsolved crime mystery. Real-life hero legacy. Open-ended thriller ending asterisk. This ending delivers closure. The trafficker's caught, the sister's safe, but twists the knife with Jake's hidden tattoo, revealing he's deeper in this fight than anyone knew. The newspaper headline and burner phone tease a larger conspiracy, leaving the audience chilled and questioning what's really out there. The final image of Jake, marked, determined, and alone, sticks like a shadow long after the screen fades. Want to amplify the emotional gut punch further?